right now. Perfect. All right. Well, an official welcome to everyone. Thank you for joining MESA's monthly webinar for June. This is part of a larger series that focuses on agroecology and food systems. And typically the webinars happen on every third Tuesday of the month. We're still adjusting the time to best accommodate everyone in different time zones, but appreciate your patience while we're workshopping that and just trying to figure out what works best for us all. So with that, I just want to review some logistics for the day. We'll be together now through the end of the hour until 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The presentation by our guest presenter will last for about 30 minutes, and then for the remainder of the session, we'll transition into a question and answer. So definitely as you're listening, be taking notes of questions that you have or comments or experiences that are relevant that you'd like to share. We really want to create a engaged discussion and take advantage of having this guest speaker here ready to share so much amazing experience with you all. So if you can, please be writing your questions down or recording them somehow and saving them for that Q&A period. We're going to hold off on asking the questions until the presentation is complete. So with that, I'd love to answer any questions that any of you have right now, just in terms of format or expectations. And if there are no questions, then I will move on. Okay, wonderful. And for those that are just joining, you're welcome to put your introduction into the chat. The prompt is at the very top of the chat, but just to introduce yourself to the group. So now it is my honor to introduce our guest presenter for today, Dr. Abolarin, who has been a physician for about 36 years. His wife and co-owner of the farm is a graduate of computer science. And she may be joining us today, I'm not sure. 8 years ago, they purchased a 17-hectare piece of degraded soil with a view of transforming it into a natural haven in preparation for their retirement. And they're really happy to share their experience with you. So I will hand it over to Dr. Abolarin to do kind of a further introduction and then head right into the presentation.
Good afternoon, evening, whatever you are, wherever you are at this time of the day. Yeah, thanks for that introduction, Sabrina. And I think that very much summarizes our life story and how it is. And we're happy to share our experience with you on the topic of polyculture in a healthy system, a look at Ayadayol Nature Farm. Our dream was having worked this long and been empty nesters now over the years was to plan for what our passion is, which is some regenerative nature farming. Having been a physician and my exposure to ravages of the chemical world we live in and lack of nutrient dense feed and its long-term effects on everybody. So years back, we had planned that as we got closer to retirement, we should start planning. So we said 8 years. It's of recent, I was going through my pictures. I've always said 8 years. I was shocked to find out it's 10 years that we got that place. So it's been 10 years now. So for the sake of time, I like to just I think we'll make a lot more progress with Q&A. So I'm just going to throw some things out there. And then from Q&A, I might have to be a lot more realistic in my answers to questions. Thoughts and interest in showing this is in the act of sharing, we learn a lot. So what I'll do is I'll try, I don't know how to do this corporate, I'm not that, so to share the screen, Sabrina, I just share screen, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Let me try this. I'm not sure. Am I sharing my screen now?
Not yet. There is a step
Share. Okay, there's a share there.
to share.
Okay,
Yeah, now we can see your screen.
but I'm trying to close something here. How did this get in here? Here? Do I close that here? The chat is coming on. So is my screen shared now? Is that a yes? Oh, sure. Oh, no.
Yes, I
Uh,
see it.
yeah, sorry.
Yes, thank you.
This is Google Earth. This is Google Earth. I will save time, but anybody, if you have access to another source of computer or something there, just Google Ayadayol nature firm and put it in Google Earth. But because I don't want to mess up this screen and because I'm not a techie, I'll get out of here and bring a picture of Google Earth that we took just a few days ago. The same picture. I expect everybody to see this. I also am not sure how to verify when this picture was taken. The techie guys would understand. But I'm sure this picture is extremely recent, less than 3 weeks ago, because I can see what's going on the land here. So this is, let me bring this to here. How do I take this to one side? My goodness. I just want to move this away from here. It's right in my way. Uh-oh.
What are you trying to do?
I want to just be able to have access to this screen here.
Okay.
Can everybody still see my screen?
Yes.
Now, is there anything defining in this picture? I mean, so I'll just say that and answer my questions quickly so I'm not wasting your time. This is Ayadayol Nature Farm. That triangular shape you see there, that's the farm. It's about 17 to 18 hectares of land. When this land was purchased 10 years ago, this is what it looked like. These are all my neighbors here. That's exactly, I was shocked when I went to Google Earth just 2 days ago to find this is what the land looks like now. This is the greenery you can see. And that's what, over the last 10 years of managing the land in a sustainable fashion, has resulted in. So what I'll do is I'll make this a little bit bigger and I'll run over this quickly. So we have a stream on the edge here completely. There's a stream on the northern side. And this is the portion of the land that we share with the neighbor. I'm not sure if it's showing on your screen. Can you see any small dots here on this side of the land?
Yes.
See little dots? Those little dots, it's my neighbor who's now setting up a palm tree plantation. He's starting to learn some sustainable farming. So he owns a lot of land around me, and that's palm trees that he just planted. But this is our own land. Now, if you look at the boundary here with him, you can see those dots. Those are the first things we did to hold the land. Those are called Melina arborea tree. So when we got the land, it was this dry, this lifeless, because it's been farmed. All sorts of chemicals, pesticides have been put into that land. And so the first thing we did was understanding the principle that we got to give this land some life. Whatever you're doing in sustainable agriculture, the common denominator is soil. Now, this whole land slopes down. It slopes down in real life into this river. So rain falls from here and it runs through this whole place right into this stream here. And so it was already desert-like, like where I'm pointing at here, when we bought this land. So we knew that we needed to improve this soil. So the first thing is we needed to stop the destruction. So we had to stop pesticides, stop herbicides, stop chemical fertilizers, then to stop hold as much water when the rain falls. Most of the structures we had here, we built what they call berms. And so when the water comes, it's stopped by the berm and slows down erosion so the water can hold more onto the soil. And so we knew that the rules for soil improvement is one, you got to give it life. How do you get life into it? You have to start to sequestrate carbon. The best way to sequestrate carbon is to plant trees and plants that harvest carbon dioxide from the air, stores it in its root, and now some of it goes into the land to give it some life. The plants also need nitrogen, which some of the plants we planted were a lot of legumes. We kept rotating them around so that we have some nitrogen fixing plants. The next thing you need is water to improve that. Then you need to put some microorganisms back into that land. So we first went to Philippines to learn about effective microorganisms. And since then, we now do what they call indigenous microorganisms. So we had to repopulate the land using a combination of that, planting trees to capture carbon, planting legumes for nitrogen fixation, we needed manure to put in there. So to get some manure in there, we needed to raise some livestock. And so our emphasis was on particularly goats and chickens. And so we kept a whole web. Then you go into the web. I'll share this screen and then maybe go off here. But just before I do that, so if you look here, that's this is how we just left this to go fallow. And all the cut trees came back up. It's the same thing here. This is now a goat house. These two are poultry houses. This is another poultry house here. That's a 1 hectare pond here, right in the middle here. This is a field of orchards. Lots of mangoes and fruits we grew. Now, I want you to look somewhere here. Can you see that this place is paler than here? Now, this dark area has just been planted with alfalfa. Over the years, we've improved that by the way we cultivated that. That's part of our experiment. We specifically put manure here, grew different rotational crops here, and we're amazed about how we can see this now. See how dark that is? Now, this used to be one of the most treasured part of the land because it's the flattest. And so all the farmers before we bought this place used this place. In 10 years, you can still see the forage is struggling. It's still pale. So I'll share the next screen with you. And this will just be a summary of what our principle is. We knew we had soil that we needed to convert. The anchor point of regeneration or regenerative agriculture is soil. It all surrounds carbon. Carbon has to come in. Then water, you have to hold water. I've told you some of the things we did. Water collection from rainwater collections from the roof. We had berms to slow the erosion. And then we need sunlight. Now, if you put all that together, sorry, how do I make this come down to the side? So, and it just creates a web of activities. So from the carbon, we needed carbon by planting some cash crops. We did some agroforestry. I'm not sure how to get this out of the way. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yes, sorry. So I just wanted to get myself off the screen there. So cash crops, carbon, and forages. Those are the three anchors that we use to put life back into the soil. And if you now break it down under the cash crops, we had crops. I have a long list here of crops: corn, soybeans, cowpeas, groundnuts, ginger, turmeric. Everything I've mentioned here, we have grown on that farm at various times. You have to do shifting cultivation and crop rotation so that you're not planting the same things on the grounds every season. In the orchard, we have a lot of different fruits. We have 10 different varieties of mangoes, oranges, tangelo. I'll show you when I start to show you images of our mangoes. When we started, our mangoes were probably at best 150 grams. The mangoes we harvested there this year from those same tree is 1 kilogram. One mango is 1 kilogram. So we have tangelo, papaya. Now you can see that there's a web here. We use a lot of the papaya, for example, as part of the things we use for making our pesticides on the farm, using some fermentation techniques: jackfruit, starfruit, apples, that's tropical apples, pomegranate, plums, grapefruit, Indian lime. Then the trees was one of the first thing we did, because these ones are longer, although they are the best sequester of carbon. So we have melina, neem. These two trees are extremely important for our operation. And I'll spend some time on melina alone for the sake of time to use that as a point of discussion. Neem is a tropical plant of immense benefit. It's one of the anchors for pesticide use, many things, nutrition, and it's long acting. It works amazingly well. Then we grew some grass and legumes. This is meant to feed the livestock. The livestock gives us manure, and we can put it back into all this to improve the soil. Now, what happens from this is, from this, we now got a lot of products. From there, there's poultry. Predominantly, we're now doing some heritage chickens, particularly Rhode Island Reds and Plymouth Bad Rock chickens, some heritage turkey, guinea fowl. From that, we do get some manure. We are breeding. We have meat and we have egg, because they are dual purpose chickens. We have an apiary where we make honey and all the products of honey, wax. From the honey, my particular interest is making meat. And we have not set up the meadery on the farm, but I've been living the life of a meader. I'll share a little bit with you. We have goats as one of the major livestock. Grass cutter is futuristic because it is exactly what goats eat. And it's meant to give us meat, milk, hide. We have a breeding program ongoing now. We're breeding some exotic breeds with the local breeds, and manure. Then we have aquaponics, where we use fish and fish waste to grow veggies, and in a recycled system where the only loss is the evaporative loss of water. So the fish grows bigger, the plants clean up the fish poop, use it to grow, and returns clean water back to the fish. We do not do water recycling, water purification for our fish. And we've got humongous fish. We have dogs on the farm for security, guardian livestock, personal dogs. But from it, a lot of the byproducts of the livestock is used in dog food production. And then we'll breed some exotic breeds, Rhodesian Ridgebacks, and I've forgotten the name of the other breed. And then, it's a hunting ground. You'll be surprised, one of the biggest hunting things on our farm now is giant snakes. And we're already having a lot of people. All this is tied to agritourism, because that's where I come in. When you have all this set up, we're hoping that things get better and we can have people come over and mix all this. In the act of doing that, we enjoy, and this is what we want to give back for being grateful for what God has given us in our lives, is to educate as many people. Our preference is usually the young Nigerian kid, to let them know they can be self-sustaining, they can build a lot for themselves without looking for white-collar jobs. And after you've gone all through this, our reason for doing this is self-actualization. That's it. That's the end of it here. And while we're doing that, we don't need to throw money away. So Naira is our currency in Nigeria. It all ends up in, you make some money, you will give back to the society, and you be self-actualized. That, in a nutshell, will be what I'll call the concept. I'll just share some images here with you. Can you still see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just open some images that I just have directly from my photos. Now, when we started, I'll start here. That is Melina arborea tree. This is the anchor. This is the tree that lines the entire edge of the farm now. And this was how little we were raising them. You can see them, we were raising them in these little bags. This is where we started 10 years ago. And those are the trees when they started to grow. At that time, we had no fence. These are the trees. This is what they look like. We have 3 layers of trees now. Now, I need to bring to your attention, I will pause at some point here to now tell you the amount of use from just this tree alone. And if you see, you can see they're all long stemmed and cleaned out here because we prune regularly. And then that's one of our staff pruning. Some of these are videos, but I'll just show you screenshots right away. That's one of our staff pruning the trees. From the trees we prune, we get all these cottons, extremely palatable, and has a lot of tannins for our goats. That's us. Those are the trees now. Those are the trees about 3 or 4 years ago. We harvest them regularly now in a sustainable fashion. We harvest one here, we leave that to sprout back, and every 6 years we can get this same tree back for that size. So we harvest one now, we leave the next one. We harvest one, next one. So every year we can harvest sustainably and yet get a lot of material from it. So that's us harvesting the trees there. That's me moving the trees, the tree trunks for processing. Those are my cousins. They're all woodwork as well, forest guys. We don't have a big sawmill. We just use chainsaw, but we get a lot of products. That's all processing the trees. And these are the products we get from it. These we use in a lot of building, beds, farm equipment. The entire goat house, other than the metal frame, was built with this tree. Part of our sustainable behavior is all our buildings are made from the red bricks. I'll come back here. So for example, this fence, all this brick, that entire 18 hectares of land is fenced with red brick. This red brick is from sand from the soil itself. We did compressed stabilized earth blocks. And so these are part of the blocks. This is where we make our blocks here. And it's we harvested that sand from the pond we dug. So our entire building, can you see all those buildings? So that's the building. This part of our sustainable development system. We do not have a fan or we do have air conditioners in our processing room, but our rooms have no fan and no air conditioners. They're extremely cool. Now, these are the planks from the melina. We use the twigs, we chip them and use this for mulching and bedding for the animals. So that's us chipping the wood, just the trims from the melina. We do make biochar and charcoal. When you put biochar and manure together, you get an extremely high quality manure that you put in the land. That explains the quality of our land over the years compared to our neighbors. So that was cobs from the maize that we converted to biochar. This is charcoal. We use the charcoal to cook on the farm. We use it to smoke our fish, smoke our chickens. When we cook with the wood pieces and the charcoal, we are left with ash. The ash from it we use to make dust bath for the chickens, to bath in for ectoparasites and for the goats. We use it for soil amendment. We use it as a cleaning agent, as a scoring powder to clean pots and stoves. We use it to save our seeds because it acts as a desiccant. It repels mice, cockroaches, and rats. It stops snails and slugs in their track. We use it for soap making, all from the melina tree. Now, when we are making the biochar, we can condense the smoke from it. And it's called liquid smoke. The other name for it is called wood vinegar. Amazing product for eliminating pests. It doesn't kill them like the carpet bomb does with the conventional pesticides. It just makes them weak, they stop eating, and they leave your plant. And it's extremely selective. It does not kill beneficial organisms, only the ones that are detrimental to your plant. I don't know how God and nature does it. It's amazing. It's used for plant growth, it's used for fruit improvement and soil improvement. So the biochar we use as poison treatment. If our goats have any poisons, you mix it with palm oil and you give them. In our food formulation system, we use it as a toxin binder in the food, odor control in the poultry house and in the goat house. I can use it to clarify my wine that I made from honey. It's called mead. You use it as a toothpaste. That's all just using biochar. So the use is extensive. For the sake of time, I'll just move faster. So that's me. Just removing the twigs and small branches. We're feeding that to the goats. Now, this tree is called the neem tree. These are all things you might want to research in future, NEEM. it's extremely beneficial to us. Our pesticide and ground improvement medium. This is one of the anchor things. So we can get what they call neem oil from the seeds. The leaf is important, the bark is important. Every part of that tree means a lot to us. So we've planted quite a lot of them on the farm. This is called bougainvillea. These are part of the forestry things we planted. It's part of our security. It's extremely thorny. So part of our security, to jump into our fence, you have to jump through this. That is not easy. You will not find it funny. That's the melina tree here. This is the melina tree. This is bougainvillea. You can see that line up there. Now we grew some forages. So this is called Panicum maxicum. We have bracharia grass. This is leucaena. This is a leguminous tree. We feed all this to the animals. This is pigeon pea. This is mulberries. This is how they get their multivitamins. This is gliricidia. So now we hatch our eggs. We take eggs we bring eggs surprisingly from here, heritage birds, and we hatch them. So these are our products. Some of the oranges in the field, that's Indian lime. There's Indian lime. These are our harvests, corns, shelling corn here. That's ginger. I think this turmeric. This is this year. If I play that video for you, that was 4 kilograms, 4 mangoes. That's how much improvement we've got. These are part of the legumes we grew. These are groundnuts. We feed the leaf and the strum to the goats and the chicken. We keep the groundnuts and make oil and protein cake from it. This is all just harvesting and processing chicken here. These are our local goats enjoying some fresh forage. What's this plant again? Passion fruit? No, not passion. Yeah, that's passion fruit. We started with local goats and we now moved on to exotic goats. That's our goat house here. Sorry, the internet is a little bit slow here, so I can't catch up. So we started with local goats. We are now crossing them with the exotic breeds, and we are getting much better quality animals now. Now you can see all that wood lining you can see there in the backyard. Sorry, all this wood lining, that's the melina tree that we've used to build their house. These are products from the farm, eggs. This is the part that pays: fruits, pineapples, chicken products, papaya, turmeric. This is from the aquaponics, veggies, and in the background there you can see that green. That's azolla and duckweed. That's the greenhouse that the aquaponics looks after. And these are the products from the greenhouse: tomatoes, and that's habanero peppers, some other kinds of peppers, sunflower seed, oil, protein, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes. Some of our products, we add value to it. That's papaya that was cut and dried for preservation. That's pineapple. That's passion fruit. Some cherry tomatoes. This is called pitanga cherry. We use this as fruits that you can eat, but we use it predominantly to give our wine some tang, to give it some astringency. We grow all this. These are mulberries. Awesome. Multivitamin. We feed the leaves to the animals, but we use the fruits for winemaking and for our own use. Is that it? Let me see if that's all I have here. Sabrina, what am I doing with time? Tell me, how much time have I spent?
We're at 4:34, so
I could, yeah. So let me just run through that. I'll just make this
Yeah.
quickly, and then we can spend more time on Q&A. So
That
that's us extracting honey. That's ginger, turmeric. These are all the products. Soya beans. That's mulberries, honey. That's me, my sunflower. That's azolla and duckweed. Now, this is from this honey, we make wine. That's the wine while I was clarifying them. And that's the beautiful wine. You can tell I'm very excited. That's the best part of it. Now, I was saying we do hunt on my farm. I'm sure that's, you wonder bizarre things. That's a pofada. That's a big thing in Africa. They do eat snakes. I don't eat snakes, but surprisingly, a lot of people, this is a delicacy. That's a lot of money. So that somebody came here to hunt, they hunt for that, cobras and pofada. The head of those reptiles no, yeah, of the snakes is worth 50 times the meat, because they use the
Poison and traditional.
what's that thing? What's not the poison? What's that thing from the fangs called? Anyway,
Venom.
the venom meat has a lot of value, more than 50 times the value of the meat. This is part of our products. These are papaya that we dried up and packaged. Now, part of our products will be hide. My wife and I have been practicing how to, over the years, we practice how to do some leather work so that we can use the hide from the goat to make some end products. These were fish from our aquaponics, wax, honey, wine. We do some wood carving. That's me in my comfort zone, wood turning. These are all products. These are all from our hands here. That's right in our house here. Chicken, azola, sorry, I gotta go. Papaya, now this is papaya. These are the things we did. Can you see how this land is? I'll make this one bigger. See how dry, this was when we started. Look at the color of the earth. This is manure here. This is how we did it. So we had to do papaya here. That's the same papaya field. This same area is this. And now you can see there's a lot of ground cover. There's a lot of, and see the color of the ground, much different, much better now. Ginger, pitanga cherries, lime. This is a part of our sustainable building. This is one of our staff quarters, all with our red bricks. We do use what they call a lot of regenerative and sustainable energy supply. We use wind, solar. This is called a papa pond. This is a pump. This is a pump that uses no electricity and no water. It just uses pressure. And we are pumping water into that tank. That's a video. I could have played that for you. That's solar pumping here. This is me practicing with solar pumps. Solar, we use what we call a threadle pump. Lots of sustainable ways of doing things. That's the goat house now. All that tree, all that plank used here is from the Melina. That's pigeon pea. That's moringa field here. Goats. Let me just go. I think, now that's alfalfa. This bridge was built with the Melina tree. I think I'll stop there, and then I think we'll be a lot more useful in how do I bring myself back on the video?
There should be a button that invites you to stop sharing your screen. There we go.
Here we go. So that's it in a nutshell. Mixing everything up, bringing crops, livestock, improving the soil. The soil is the center of it all, and every other thing comes out of it, and there are gains from every angle. That's my presentation in short. Let's feel free to just discuss with us your questions, and we can share further with you.
Yes, thank you so much. And yeah, without taking too much more time with a transition, please feel free. Yeah, it looks like Marcin has a question.
Hi. I was curious about when you talked about going to the Philippines to
Correct.
learn about microorganisms. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I can tell you where we went. We went to somewhere called Costalis Nature Farms, and we attended a course on what's called EM technology, effective microorganism technology. But after that, we also interned there so that we can learn practically there. And that was just the foundation. Since then, we've learned a lot more. Now we know how to do what they call IMO, which is indigenous microorganism. You grow microorganisms from your own land. Whereas effective microorganism is something that's already somebody has prepared that you learn how to multiply. And it's used in all facets of life. So we learned that at a place called Costalis Nature's Farm. That was more than probably about 10, maybe 8 years ago.
Okay, thank you. Can you what is IMO, the one that you were talking about?
So IMO is a system where you culture microorganisms from your own land, because if you culture the ones that are indigenous to your land. They are much more appropriate for your climate, your vegetation, and everything. I told you the rules of improving the soil, if you remember, is the manure doesn't carry as much weight. It's the organisms inside the land, the microorganisms that really brings life back to the soil. And it's the one that breaks down even the manure to the micronutrients that the plant uses. So if you have that you must have a way of multiplying it into your grounds to improve the quality of life in the soil. So you can do effective microorganism, which is a Japanese principle of somebody who's learned it over the years, how to collect it. Then it's something you buy. So you can Google that. It's something you buy, and then there are ways to mix it and use it in all its forms for other things you can use it for. And it's called EM1. That's what you buy. From it, then you can make other products from it. We ferment almost everything. We ferment feeds. We ferment our pesticides. We ferment our fungicides. So we use that as the basis for it. Whereas instead of buying something, it's now thought that the one from your own land is much, much appropriate for your land. Because if you bring something that is imported that was grown in Japan, it doesn't necessarily mean it will work well in Nigeria. But so there are ways to do it. I'm sure I think the whole idea now is to just give you some rubrics of how to move on. It's something you can Google. It's easy on YouTube too. So it's called indigenous microorganism. So it's IMO. And there are various ways to cultivate it. It also depends on what's local to your region. So in the Philippines, they would use rice for everything. In West Africa, would use maize and cassava and sweet potatoes for other things. So it's beyond this discussion, in my opinion.
Thank you.
I'm just muted. Thank you, Marcin, for your question. If you don't want to unmute and ask your question, you're welcome to put it in the chat, and then I can read it as well. But we'll give everyone a minute to share a question if you have it.
I have a question real quick.
Yeah, please, Celestia.
Yeah, first, I just love everything that you did. Thank you for sharing. And I was just wondering, like, what if you don't have family members that can help you take on a project this big? Like, who else helps you take care of everything?
As we speak now, we have 30 people that are on payroll.
Okay. So then you pay them too.
We do have staff. We do have staff who live on the farm. We have.
Okay.
So it's a farm that has a lot of life on it. There's people there 24/7.
And do you also do like an exchange, maybe, instead of, if you don't want to pay them, they could like live off the land with you guys or live there and use the food? Is that also an option you do?
So we have a lot of hybrid. We have full-time staff that we pay. We have those that you just mentioned. Our land goes even beyond our fence. So we give our land for them to harvest. Our agreement normally is that part of the harvest is for us, but we've never taken anything from them. We're okay with what we have. But it's nice to have that as a deal. That's one. We have those who are part-timers, who have their own farms, but also come there. As we speak now, we have a number of students, different levels of students from universities and technologies who come there for what they call student attachment and internship. So we have varieties of staff there. So paid staff, we have full-time paid staff, part-time paid staff, interns, and community arrangements.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
I have a question and I can't figure out how to raise my hand. I'm just blown away by the productivity, the diversity of your farm. It's just beautiful. and your vision. I'm curious to know, what are your main markets? Do you, is it farmers markets? Is it direct, to like gross to stores? Yeah. What are your main markets, and what is your what is your biggest cash crop?
Cash crop, our biggest cash crop will be what now? No, cash crop. Because it's other than things from the orchard, we really don't have real cash crops now. Is that what you meant? I'm not sure if I answered that question.
Or just, yeah, what is your most profitable product? Sure. Yeah.
Chicken and eggs. You can see that every 48 hours, lots of egg leave the farm. Every 48 hours. Now, we don't let people come to the farm from outside anyhow for biosecurity.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a farm outlet store some kilometers away from the farm in a small neighborhood outside the farm. So we don't encourage them. So we carry the eggs from there, drop it at our collection point, and they come and pick the eggs up. Egg is our most profitable and continuous product because it's nonstop. We do chickens. If you remember, I showed videos of chickens. So we do chickens, broiler chickens itself. And as we speak now, we are slowly changing because we intend to even get rid of that. And so we have started raising some heritage birds now, which are dual purpose birds, Rhode Island red, Plymouth bad rock. We are planning to add some Australorp, and we'll cross them. Both would have a line of each breed, and then we'd have a cross of all of them. And we expect dual purpose. The ones that are not appropriate for breeding, all the roosters, will be for meat. They do lay, surprisingly, almost as competitive as the conventional. And for half the feeding, they are hardier. They don't need antibiotics. Now, you can see I showed you Azolla and duckweed. That is 40% protein. It's a water fern. It doubles its size in 24 hours. So we mix that with our corns and grits, and it's amazing. We are getting good results. Very hardy chicken, and yet we are getting eggs. So dual purpose birds, that way. Now the goats, eventually, the reject from the breeding program would also be processed for sale. Goat is a big thing in Nigeria. We have not started goats now because we're in the process of multiplying. We have not started selling goats. Now, if you look at the screen, that's something I can share. Maybe I can say to Sabrina later, of our web system. It's multiple sources of income. We still have ginger. We have turmeric. We use some in our own production, but we process them, sun dry them with no chemicals attached. 4 years, they are still as fresh as ever. So those are all sources of income for us. Tomatoes, papaya, turmeric, ginger, those are cash crops, but they are seasonal. You harvest, you send in batches. I hope I answered the question.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And I think there's another question in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Samuel says, good presentation. My question is for a young farmer who doesn't have any farm and also has no finances to acquire a farm. What advice would you give them?
It's what I give a number of the interns that come to us. It all depends on what you're interested in. Because we have that diverse does not mean you start that diverse. You can do. I mean, what does it cost you to have those heritage chickens? So some of our interns, part of our plan for them is once they've learned the job, we can't service the market. We can't do everything ourselves. And that's why you can see when I showed you the agroecology chart of our farm, we started with education on one side and self-actualization on the other side. That's when I feel fulfilled. So a lot of the young interns come now. You will learn, you spend some time on the farm, and when you are living and comfortable, our blessing will be to give you a number of heritage chicks. And you can start your multiplication program. We have a bigger market. It means even your product has a guaranteed buyer from us because we'll buy it from you. We're about to open our own store and we expect that would expand. We have the capacity to do that. We have blast freezer, we can store. The whole farm is run on solar 24 hours. So we have no challenge with sustainable power source. Most of the young people, even if they process chicken, don't have somewhere to keep them. I can keep chickens for the next 6 months. I'm not under pressure to sell because it's in the freezer, and we have a blast freezer. Once you blast freeze, you can, as long as the cold chain is maintained, your chicken is as fresh as it is. So those, I just use that as an example. It depends on the area they intend to show. Chicken is one of the easiest because it does. You start with chicks. You need to know how to feed them in a sustainable manner, in a cheap manner. Is what we do on the farm. They do not require as many. They don't fall sick. They don't require antibiotics. So the overhead is low, and yet you still get your products. And so a young kid that is smart starts with that. It's been projected that if you start with 1 rooster and 4 hens, and you manage your farm well, in 1 year, you will have 700 chickens, from 5 to 700 in 1 year. And they would give you egg and chickens. I hope I use that answer to, there are various sides to the whole thing. It depends on what you're interested in and the farm.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that the question?
Oh yeah, sorry, I missed that. Who, did someone say something? Samuel, if you would like to enter into the chat, just what your specific interests are in terms of farming, you're welcome to do that. And maybe Dr. Abolarin can speak more specifically to that, but I think that's really wonderful advice. And in the meantime, are there any other questions that you have? Wonderful. If not, we still have 8 minutes left, and I think there were a lot of things that you had to share, Dr. Abolarin, as we were going through all the photos that you didn't get to explain fully. And I remember hearing you talk about the pop-up pump, I believe it's called.
Yeah, pop-up pond, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm curious if you could say a little bit more about that to this group, because I think it's so cool.
So I'm trying to remember the fundamental name. What's the name? Ramp. They are called ramp pumps. The principle is called ramp pump. So what happens is, as long as you have, it's a special pump. You can Google it. The pump we bought is called Papa pump. It's made by a British engineer, but the principle is the same everywhere. So the principle is ramp pump. Oh, RAM, RAM pump, RAM pump. Now, the Papa pump itself has an inlet and an outlet. So there's a way we dammed. I'll have to go and look for that image, but that might waste time. But I'll just leave you with the information. So what we did, we dammed a small stream and collected water there, and you allow water to drop from a height into that pump. And the pressure of the height of that's hitting the pump generates power enough, and it can pump quite high. Let me see if I show you, if that image will ever show here. Let me show if I can show you. So this was a video. Am I sharing my screen now?
You are not sharing your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me go to sharing my screen. Share screen. I'm hoping the video plays. Let me see if it plays. Water has dropped. Water is dropping. Water is dropping. Water is dropping. Water is at the end. Can you see? I'm trying to see if I can show you the. Oh, it's not showing. You see, if you see to the side here, there's a small stream here. So inside this round hole here, right in the middle, is where the pump is. And the pump, can you see that this hose coming right there? That hose is connected to this long, and look at the height of that tank. We got water right up there from that pump inside of there. Now there's an inlet. Water is coming. You can hear me shouting. You can tell I'm excited there.
You need how many minutes? 15 minutes? John, 15 minutes, water is coming. And it's still pumping. It's still pumping, same power. So, including disconnection time, 15 minutes.
So I think I just leave you. So that was the day I got it to work. So you can tell how excited I was. So if you just Google Papa Pump, it's very, and it's used in Asia a lot. You see it, some villages have, and it can go. One village in Thailand used it to pump water for 7 kilometers distance. 7. So
It's amazing.
yeah, so just Google PAPA pump. That's the brand we bought. But the principle is RAM pump. No power source, no battery, no solar, no electrical connection. It's just powered by the force of the water that goes into it.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to find a link to share with everyone, but maybe I'll do that in our follow-up, that where I send out the link to this presentation, I'll also link to that pump as well, so people can take a look.
Sure. And between you and I mean, if I find something, I'll send it to you, Sabrina, you can share.
Sure. That
Yes.
sounds great. Yes. Well, we have 3 minutes left. Are there any, I guess I would love to just open it up to you, Dr. Abolarin, to leave everyone with some final words or just closing remarks about, what you've talked about today and your experience at Ayadayol Farms.
Yes. So I'll just go and summarize by saying you can go as long as there's the will, there will always be a way. Now, I haven't said what I said. There will be days I can discuss only challenges because it sounds smooth, it looks good. There were challenges along the way. But once there's a will, there's a way. They've done so many things. You need to see how many people think we are crazy when we insist, don't put fertilizer, pesticide, anything here. We were the laughing stock of people when we were planting those trees. I told you when we started, you can see the benefit of only that tree for us, particularly in our operation. And so, and I was shocked. I went, because in preparation for this thing, I've not gone to Google Earth to look because I fly drones myself. I have drone image of the farm, and that didn't let me look for anything from Google. But because of this presentation, I went to Google Earth and I was shocked to see how well demarcated the land, the difference in that land, even to my neighbors. And that picture was less than 3 weeks old because there are some cleared areas there that I know they just cleared now. So I'm now, see, you have concepts. When you start to do it, you look like it's not going to be real because you've learned it from somewhere else. But the day I saw the Google map was the day I was convinced that I'm on the right path because I can see the land. Now, when we're harvesting 200-gram mangoes, I was shocked when I started to harvest the same mango, 1 kilogram, extremely tasty and juicy. The quality of our products are amazing. All our farmers are using fertilizer 6 times, 6 rounds of fertilizer before they can harvest with just no fertilizer because the land is that rich. Our yields are 4 times theirs. We grew cowpea last year. We were the cyno show of the entire village. They could not believe it because the cowpeas takes a lot of pesticide sprays. They spray 3-4 times. Not one spray touched ours. We did not even need to use our own organic pesticides. We had it prepared. We never needed it. When the plants are healthy, they don't get attacked. I read all that in the book. I didn't know it was real until I practiced it. So last year we harvested tons. Some of the pictures I showed you were sacked. That was all cowpea. We were just harvesting cowpea and we fill the humps to the goats. The goats convert that into muscle for you. So we can just see how it works. For the youth, they would have to find what in our whole system fits. I mean, the apiary alone is an area for youth that knows what to do. You just need to know how to build those nests. You need to know how to capture them. You get honey. If you sell honey alone, you don't get value. But if you add value addition to it, it's amazing what you can do with wax. We don't use roll-ons. We make our own roll-ons in this house from wax. So if the youth, you can make shoe polish just from wax alone. So the youth that decides to go into apiary does not need much money. So we have various sections of our farm. I'm happy that we had the comprehensive thoughts, and I'm happy of where we are now, because very soon we will then be there. And I can imagine that if we're 100% on the farm, which is our ultimate goal in the next few months to years, very soon, our productivity will be at least 3 times what it is now, because we're still doing that from a distance. And so we're not as productive as we want to be. We can be a lot more productive. I'm excited and fired up seeing that what I thought was theory, I have seen it in my own life that is true. It works.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah. Such visionary and revolutionary work, in my opinion. And yeah, every time I get the pleasure of talking to you both, I'm learning so much, and I think I'm speaking for everyone else in that respect. So yeah, so much gratitude to you both, and I look forward to sharing this recording with you all. Yes, Alicia says thank you so much. This is so inspiring. This is incredible. So yeah, just thank you again. Thank you all to those who attended. Hope to see you next month. And please look out in your emails for follow-up information about some topics that we've discussed today, as well as the recording.
Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
That I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their days wherever they're at.
Thank you.
All
Bye-bye.
right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.